Hey everybody, Ketwolski here, checking in with another one of our hashtag Star Trek Discovery discussion review videos. Today, of course, we're going to be talking about Season 3, Episode 4, Forget Me Not. Overall, my opinions on this episode are, honestly, it was pretty damn good. In fact, this may actually be probably my best/favorite episode of Star Trek Discovery so far, but of course that is a bit of a subjective opinion, kind of personal thing there, and I want to explain why I feel that way throughout this video. But honestly, this episode was really fantastic. I thought the character development of everybody involved was great. I thought we moved the plot of the season along really well, while also continuing to expand on the larger Star Trek franchise by visiting Trill and going into the Trill caves and kind of experiencing what that culture is like, you know, kind of right now, and also kind of understanding more about, you know, the symbiotic connection between the symbiote and the actual host of the individual kind of, you know, bodies, I guess you could say, or the circle as they refer to it as in the episode. So I really enjoyed this episode quite a bit. I thought it was really just well done. I think people who have complained a little bit in the past that Star Trek Discovery has been a little too pew explosions and explosions type things, I think they're probably going to like this episode. Hopefully. I don't know. Some people probably still complain about Star Trek Discovery no matter what, but I really felt like this episode knocked it out of the park. They toned down the action, although there was still a little bit of kind of interpersonal actions and some fighting going on. I felt like they toned that down so that we could really focus on the bridge crew and really focus on what's going on with these characters and continuing to explore where the Star Trek universe is this far into the future. And honestly, I loved it. Couple of standout things that obviously occurred in this episode was Captain Saru kind of stepping up into his role as being a captain, and in some regards not doing so good, and in some regards exceeding really well. He tried to do that little dinner party, which was a really nice idea that was given to him by the computer, which we'll get to that later. But it was given to him as an idea of kind of hosting, you know, everybody the night off and hosting the bridge crew for dinner. And originally it kind of was smart, and then it started off pretty good, a little awkward, but not too bad. And then obviously it fell apart because everyone's issues kind of came out, you know, and people were starting to vent a little bit, which I think ultimately kind of turned around to being very positive. As Dr. Hugh Culber, Wilson Cruz himself, mentioned at the end of the episode, he did say, like, the first thing we needed to do was to stop pretending like everything was all right so they could begin the healing process. And I think at the dinner, everybody had the opportunity to really showcase the fact that they're not all right, and that they're dealing with a lot of issues in between each other and with their current predicament of being in the future. Yes, they all agreed to do this time jump, but there is a lot of consequences with that, you know, kind of decision, and they're kind of dealing with it. So the first step was to really deal and acknowledge that, and I think that's what happened at the table, so people can actually start to move forward, which is very smart, very counselor-esque of Hugh Culber. So I don't know if he's going to start slipping into that role of being kind of a ship's counselor in some regards. I think he would fit really well there. But I feel like, you know, everyone knows, like, when you have an issue, the first step in admitting to, you know, first step of dealing with it is to admit that you actually have an issue, which is what the crew did at the dinner table. So even though it kind of failed a little bit in some regards of having a pleasant meal, I think Saru definitely succeeded there in getting his crew to kind of feel a little bit more closeness, which is kind of the rounding off kind of really great Star Trek feel-good moments that we had towards the end of this episode, which really I thought really added to the elements of why it is I felt like this might be my favorite episode of Discovery, because the crew experienced a lot of raw, real emotions, had a lot of raw, real interactions with each other, and then had a very Star Trek-esque coming together at the end there, where they're like, you know what, I still love you. You're still a member of my family, still a member of my crew, even though right now we are dealing with some stuff that all of us are kind of dealing internally and then with each other. And I thought it was really fantastic. I thought that whole stuff with Saru and then the, you know, the movie sequence at the end, I thought all of that was really well done. Awesome, just awesome. Kind of in conjunction with that is Wilson Cruz kind of doing his best Dr. Hugh I think he's done in the entire series up to this point. I think he essentially kind of carried this episode in a lot of ways. We started it off with his, you know, medical log, you know, personal log, I should say, of kind of just talking about where the crew is at from his perspective. And him, of course, being somebody who died and then came back from the dead and kind of understands what a feeling of just loss and kind of sadness is definitely recognizing some issues both within the bridge crew, you know, with, you know, Saru and Michael Burnham, but also with the crew as a whole, and really provided a lot of guidance, I think, to both the captain and the rest of the team there. And I thought he just did a fantastic job. I thought, you know, Wilson Cruz crushed it this episode. I can't wait to get more Hugh Culber. Now I don't feel like I could deal with an episode without him in there. I feel like his character is really growing quite a bit, and I'm really glad that they decided to bring him back, even though it definitely kind of undercut some of the situations there that happened in the first season. But where we are now, it almost doesn't really even matter, I guess, at this point, if that makes sense. I don't know. I don't want to, maybe that sounds kind of mean, but, season 1 is whatever. We're focused right now on season 3, and season 3, Hugh Culber is a totally different person, and I'm really excited to see more of that character continuing to support the crew as they heal through all of this pain that they're dealing with right now. And I thought it was fantastic. Another standout moment for me in this episode was the situation with Michael Burnham and Adira going down to Trill and them kind of getting not such a great warm welcome, where they basically refer to her as an abomination, which I think is definitely a commentary on, some of the social issues that they're wanting to bring up in this season and in Star Trek's, universe as a whole right now. And kind of people who were like still being very supportive of that. And then at the end, the big reveal there is not only is she able to connect to her Trill symbiote, her symbiote, but she also was able to prove that the kind of bigoted, kind of ignorant nature of that one Trill individual kind of saying, like, you're an abomination, get the heck out of here, no pool for you, it was kind of wrong. And actually that this person and the way that they're living their life is actually potentially going to be the future of their race, and actually maybe potentially the savior of their race, because they lost so many available hosts for symbiotes to be implanted inside of. So I thought that was a really great social commentary there. It was very subdued. It was not hitting you over the head, in my personal opinion. I felt like it was played very, very well. We got the introduction of the new character named Gray, who is I believe they referred to as the boyfriend in the episode of Adira, and I thought that relationship was, again, played very well. Not over the top, nothing crazy. I feel like Star Trek writers are actually really good at kind of layering in these really solid, relationships, these, I would say, quote, non-conventional relationships, and hopefully that term analogy isn't too spicy, but non-conventional relationships in the show. They did it really well with Stamets and Culber. Now they're doing it really well here with Adira and Gray. So I think that they're doing a really great job there. And again, I appreciate that they're able to put in these social commentary bits without it being too overwhelming. So I really liked that aspect of it. But of course, also the exploration of what it means to be joined as, with a symbiote and stuff like that. I felt like that was really exciting. I'm really glad that we got to see the pools and get to see what that really felt like. And with the advent of modern technology and CGI graphics, we were able to really kind of enjoy what that construct of what does it look like mentally for somebody to join with all of these other, lives, so to speak. And I thought it was really well done. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was really touching when all the different personalities, if you want to say that, kind of came out and they said, welcome to the circle, and they brought her in. And it was very touching. And I really loved it. I thought it was really well done. So one of the other things that I really did enjoy kind of about this episode as a whole is that, and really just this season at this point, is, again, they're really avoiding that whole ticking clock, everything's going to fall apart, everything is, doom and gloom, and it's this huge crisis that needs to be saved and averted by the Discovery, and specifically by Michael Burnham. And again, Hugh Culber even calls her out for that, in this episode, which I think is great, because people are actually saying, like, you don't have to keep carrying the weight of the entire universe on your shoulders, and you don't have to do it alone. And also just meaning that for the crew as a whole, So I like the fact that they're avoiding that. It gives the show more time to breathe. It gives the characters more time to breathe, and for us to really kind of get to know more about our bridge crew and what's going on with them. I really, really enjoy that fact. Like, we're still kind of just unraveling a small mystery of where's the Federation. And then from there, they'll probably come up with another mystery of, what do we do next? How do we rebuild? And I think that that's great. I think it's just a fun way to tell this fun story about these, this crew that's displaced in time, that's relying on each other, and that's trying to save the universe, but not in like a ticking clock way, but one that's going to save its soul, not necessarily from a large event that's going to be catastrophic, because the catastrophic event already happened. It was called the Burn. So now they're here to save the soul of the universe and the Federation and all these other member worlds that kind of fell off the wayside, kind of pull them all back together. And I think that's really fun. I'm enjoying this story for not being too crazy hectic, and just kind of enjoying it and kind of just exploring this strange new universe, even though it should be familiar to us because it's still the same universe, but it's still very strange and very foreign to us as the viewers and as the crew. So we're all kind of exploring it together. And I don't know, I really love it. It's a great feeling to watch it and just be like, okay, when they get to Trill, what is it going to be like? What is going on there? What's happening there? Are they going to be friendly? Are they going to be hostile? Are they going to be advanced? Are they going to be primitive? Are they dying out? Are they thriving? What's going on? And I'm just excited to find out what's just around that next corner, what's just beyond the next star, so to speak. So I really love it. I'm really enjoying this season quite a bit. I do want to go ahead and do make a quick little statement here that I feel like anybody who's sitting there saying, Alex Kurtzman and Michelle Paradis and, Akiva Goldsman for some regards, and Heather Caden and all the big wigs over there at Secret Hideout / Viacom CBS, all of those people who are saying that they don't listen to feedback and that they're not making things better for the franchise and for these shows. I think if you see this episode and you still think that, then I feel like you're just being a little bit too stubborn. A lot of the complaints that people have had about Star Trek Discovery is that it's too much ticking clock, too much Michael Burnham saves everything, and there's just too much action. And what we've gotten so far in this season is really a lot of toned downness of that. And this episode in particular could have been this big action adventure and a lot of guns pointing and hostage taking or whatever it is with the Trill situation, but it really wasn't. Michael Burnham went on an away mission and she handled her business the way she needed to handle it. And we went on a fun, little kind of exploration with the Trill stuff. And then Captain Sroot had his own adventure with Dr. Colbert and the rest of the bridge crew kind of dealing with the realities of what's happening on the ship. And I thought it was perfect. Some people may be complaining that it's too boring, but those are probably also the same people that thought that the other seasons were too action-packed. Well, sometimes maybe there's no pleasing you, so I don't know what to tell you, but I feel like this is a clearly good example of, again, them listening to the feedback that fans are providing to the studios and to these production heads and saying, okay, these are some of the things that we're going to tweak moving forward in order to kind of continue to meet the expectations and the desires of our core fan base. And I think that they're listening. I really do. That's how I feel based off of this episode in particular. All right, guys and gals, that does wrap up my review video for today. Obviously, one of the bigger elephants in the room is what was going on with the sphere data in connection with the ship's computer, and how does that lead up into Zora / the Calypso short trek. But I'm going to save that for my theories video that's going to be coming out here shortly after this review video. I don't want to bog it down too much with this thing. I just want to get my review and thoughts out about the episode. But yes, I am aware of it, and I'm super glad that we're going to be getting a lot more about what's going on with Zora and the Calypso thing, and I can't wait to see how they're going to tie all of that together. I have a pretty strong theory that I'm going to talk about in my theory video, so stick around, stay tuned for that. But yeah, I'm definitely tracking on it, and I'm very excited to see where it goes. All right, guys and gals, that does wrap up my review video for today. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to throw up a like and a subscribe up on the channel, and make sure you hit the bell. It lets you keep up to date with all of the latest Star Trek news, later Star Trek episode reviews, and movie reviews potentially, and much, much more in relation to the larger Star Trek universe. And of course, get your comments up down below. What did you think about this episode? Did you like it as much as I did, where I'm thinking of it being maybe potentially #1, or did you hate it, and why? Get your stuff up down below. Let's go ahead and get the conversation started. Live long and prosper, my Trekkies!